Hey everyone! Welcome back to Usof Reacts. Today, we're diving into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and taking a closer look at the movie that introduced us to the star-spangled hero himself, Captain America, the first Avenger. So grab your shield and let's get started. Released in 2011 and directed by Joe Johnston, Captain America, the first Avenger is the fifth film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It tells the origin story of Steve Rogers, a scrawny kid from Brooklyn who transforms into the super soldier Captain America during World War II. The film stars Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, whose journey from underdog to superhero is both inspiring and heartfelt. But what makes this movie stand out in the vast landscape of superhero films? First, let's talk about the transformation scene. It's not just about the physical change, although, let's be honest, Chris Evans' transformation is pretty jaw-dropping. It's about Steve's unwavering spirit. Even before he becomes Captain America, Steve's bravery and sense of justice shine through. A lot of credit goes to Dr. Abraham Erskine, played by Stanley Tucci. Erskine's character emphasizes that it's not just the serum, but the heart of the person that makes a hero. His guidance and belief in Steve add a touching layer to the narrative. No superhero story is complete without a formidable villain. And the first Avenger delivers with Johann Schmidt, also known as the Red Skull. Hugo Weaving's portrayal of the Hydra leader is chilling and charismatic, making him a memorable foe. The action sequences in this movie are top-notch, blending classic war movie elements with superhero flair. The use of practical effects and CGI is well balanced, bringing the 1940s setting to life in a visually stunning way. We also can't forget about Peggy Carter, played by the amazing Haley Atwell. Peggy is not just a love interest. She's a strong, independent character who holds her own and plays a crucial role in Steve's life and the overall story. And then there's the Howling Commandos. This diverse group of soldiers adds depth to the narrative, showcasing camaraderie and the collective effort in fighting against evil. One of the most poignant moments in the film is Steve's sacrifice. His decision to crash the plane into the Arctic to save millions is a defining moment for his character, solidifying his role as a selfless hero. The film wraps up with Steve waking up 70 years later, setting the stage for his future adventures with the Avengers. This ending not only leaves us wanting more but perfectly bridges the gap to the modern MCU. And let's not forget the post-credits scene, which gives us a thrilling preview of what's to come in The Avengers. Steve Rogers, a rejected military soldier, transforms into Captain America after taking a dose of a super soldier serum. But being Captain America comes at a price as he attempts to take down a warmonger and a terrorist organization. It is 1942, America has entered World War II, and sickly but determined Steve Rogers is frustrated at being rejected yet again for military service. Everything changes when Dr. Erskine recruits him for the secret Project Rebirth. Proving his extraordinary courage, wits and conscience, Rogers undergoes the experiment and his weak body is suddenly enhanced into the maximum human potential. When Dr. Erskine is then immediately assassinated by an agent of Nazi Germany's secret Hydra research department headed by Johann Schmidt, a.k.a. the Red Skull, Rogers is left as a unique man who is initially misused as a propaganda mascot. However, when his comrades need him, Rogers goes on a successful adventure. That truly makes him Captain America, and his war against Schmidt begins. During World War II, Steve Rogers tries to enlist but is repeatedly rejected for his frail and sickly condition. However, scientist notes his determination and allows him to be accepted. What Steve doesn't know is that this scientist is in charge of a government project to create super soldiers, in which Steve is to be the first, but the colonel in charge of the project can't see what the scientist does, and this scrawny runt a strong inner character. Meanwhile, Johann Schmidt, head of a German science division known as Hydra, knows this scientist and fears the success of his project in America. It could mean trouble for the Germans, so he sends a man to infiltrate and see if it's a success, and take care of the scientist if it is. It is, and he does, but not without Steve and his new abilities chasing him down. With the Doctor dead, no more American Superman will be forthcoming, and Steve quickly becomes a mere U.S. war drive propaganda tool called Captain America. His role is useful, if undignified, but he soldiers on with it dutifully, till hearing of his best friend's unit's capture, for which he promptly heads out to rescue them. During this rescue, he meets the diabolical Schmidt, and the two become each other's arch-nemesis. At the outset of World War II, Steve Rogers wants nothing more than to join the army. The only problem is that he can't pass the physical. He's tried several times under different names without success. Dr. Abraham Erskine notes his eagerness and recruits him for an experimental project. Rogers is soon transformed, both mentally and physically, into a super soldier, where he eventually faces off against the Nazi organization Hydra and its head, known as Red Skull. Steve Rogers, a weak, sickly young man eager to fight, is repeatedly rejected from the war, until a seemingly crazy scientist recruits him in a new experiment to turn the tides. He is transformed into the super soldier the world needs, but no one believes it. He is used as an empty face for propaganda until his comrades, including his best and only friend, are captured by the Red Skull, a Nazi general who wants to use the Tesseract for evil. Captain America breaks into Red Skull's HQ with the help of Peggy Carter and Howard Stark, and Captain America saves everyone. And everyone begins to realize what Captain America can really do. Captain America is excavated from a crashed plane along with his shield. Johann Schmidt Hugo Weaving, a high-ranking Nazi, in search of a glass cube, the Tesseract. John Hinn is the top-ranking scientist in Nazi Germany, working on superpowers from the occult. He finds the Tesseract in Norway. In New York, Steve Rogers' Chris Evans is a thin asthmatic found ineligible for US military service. His friend James Bucky Barnes has been accepted and is accepted to 107th Infantry. Dr. Abraham Erskine Stanley Tucci notices Steve, and in his determination despite his appearance. He is also on the recruitment board and accepts Steve when he applies next. Meanwhile, Johann works with Arnim Zola to harness the power of the cube to create energy weapons. They are both part of Hydra, which earlier operated under Nazi. But to grow further, Johann terminates his association to Hitler and goes independent. Erskine takes Steve for basic training under Colonel Chester Phillips Tommy Lee Jones. Chester is supervising Erskine's super soldier program. Peggy Carter Haley Atwell is a British officer on the platoon. Despite being smallest and weakest, Steve impresses all with his spirit and selflessness. Erskine reveals to Steve that he worked with Johann earlier to create a serum that gives man superhuman strength. When Erskine used it on Johann, it backfired and left him as a sinewy red skeleton. That's when Erskine had to flee and join the US. Erskine performs the procedure on Steve, instantly transforming him into a super soldier. A Nazi spy kills Erskine and steals the last serum and escapes. Steve runs after the perpetrator and captures him, but the perpetrator swallows the vial of cyanide and kills himself. He has a tattoo of Hydra on himself. As Chester and Peggy conduct their investigation, Steve is enlisted by a senator to raise funds for the Bond as a comic superhero Captain America. He is taken overseas where he meets Chester and Peggy and finds that the 107th has been captured by Hydra. Eager to save Bucky, Steve wants to go in. Howard is a private defense contractor and friend of Peggy. When Chester refuses to help Steve, Howard airdrops Steve behind enemy lines and near Hydra's weapons plant. Steve comes face to face with Johann and sees his Red Skull face. Johann escapes with Arnim, and Steve destroys the base and finds a map with the location of rest of Hydra's bases. He rescues Bucky and 500 other men of the 107th. They return with the recovered weapons, much to the astonishment of Chester. Chester offers help to Steve to pursue Johann, but Steve prefers the same team and the rescued prisoners who helped him in their first attack on Hydra. Howard gives Steve a shield made of vibranium, lighter than steel and in the strongest metal on Earth. Peggy is attracted to Steve but finds him kissing another GI and is angry. Steve manages to destroy many bases of Hydra and even captures Arnim on his journey through the Swiss Alps. But Bucky dies in that operation. Arnim reveals the location of Hydra's last base. Steve goes headfirst into the base and is captured and then brought in front of Johan. The rest of the team attacks with surprise. Johan has created a plane and stacked it with super bombs with the name of each major city in us. He takes off. Steve pursues and kisses Peggy before he jumps on the plane. The plane is powered by the cube. Steve destroys the cube console. As the cube escapes, it opens a space portal and Johan is swept into it and disintegrated. Steve realizes that the plane is on autopilot. He radios Peggy and begs his forgiveness and dives the plane into the ocean. Steve awakens in a 1940s hospital. An old-fashioned radio transmits the play-by-play of a Dodger game. He gets up, looks out the windows and watches as the hospital door opens. A young woman, Amanda Righetti, who bears a striking resemblance to Peggy, enters. She waits for a response from Steve, who suspiciously looks at her. He asks why the radio is playing a Mets game from May 1941, a game that he was at. She reaches into her pocket and withdraws a walkie-talkie. Two tall soldiers in black uniforms enter the room, and Steve easily tosses them through a wall. Steve steps through the hole and is surprised to see that he was on a movie set. He runs through the dark corridors, pushes a door open and appears in a modern skyscraper, bustling with people in business suits. He flees the building and finds himself into 011 East Times Square. He peers around, shocked by his surroundings, and watches as numerous matching black SUVs encircle him. Nicky Fury's Samuel L. Jackson steps out and carefully speaks to Steve. He tells him that he's been asleep in ice for 70 years. The hospital set was meant to gradually introduce him to modern society. Still perplexed, Steve breathes heavily and sadly tells Fury that he had a date. In a post-credit scene, Steve is in an old-fashioned gym. He pummels a punching bag so hard that he knocks it off its chain and sends it flying across the room. Fury enters the gym and asks Steve if he's had trouble sleeping. Steve cynically asks if Fury has come with another mission. Fury replies to the positive. Suddenly we see images of all the superheroes: Thor, Tony Stark from the Iron Man movies, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Bruce Banner from Hulk and other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents preparing for battle. Fury tells him that they're up. His personal mission to build an army of superheroes is complete, and to be continued. Captain America, the first Avenger, is a fantastic blend of action, heart, and history, making it a standout film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What did you think of the movie? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more Marvel movie reviews and analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.